This is Unit 4, Lesson 2, box plots, or you might have heard of them as called box and whisker plots. Our objective is students will be able to represent and read data using a box plot. We have 6 different vocabulary terms that we are going to look at, and the first is measure of center. The measure of center can be used to describe a data set. Our next term is mean, and you should have heard of mean before. Mean is the average value of data. So it's the number that you get when you add all of the data values together, and then you divide them by the amount of data values you had. Our next term is median, and the median is the middlemost value in a data set. If you have 2 values in the middle of your data set, then you find the mean by adding those 2 numbers together and dividing by 2, or you take the average or the mean. Our next word is interquartile, and this one might be a new word for you. The interquartile or interquartile range, let's add range on there. Interquartile range is the difference between the first and third quartile. If you don't know what the first and third quartile are, then interquartile range really won't mean much to you. But those are actually going to be our next 2 terms, so now it will have some sort of meaning. So first quartile is the median of the lower half of data. So if you had a set of data and you picked out the median, you would take the middle number, and that would divide the list of data into the lower half and the upper half. If you take the middle of the lower half, that's the first quartile. And you can probably guess that the third quartile is the median of the upper half. So those are the 6 terms that we're going to be using in this lesson and then carry over a little in our next lessons. Measure of center, mean, median, interquartile range, first quartile, and third quartile. Go ahead and write down this list of numbers. These 25 numbers represent the battery life for 25 different phones. We are going to create a box plot that organizes this information, and it will show us, what the most common battery life is, as well as where the median, the first quartile, and the third quartile lie. The first thing I'm going to do to create my box plot is order that data from least to greatest. The point in doing this is that we will be able to find out which number is the middle. So let's go back to our data. The smallest number on this list is 250. So I'll start with 250. Next we go to 260. And then we don't have a 270, but we can skip up to 280. And then there's 290. And you're going to continue this process till we put everything in order. Here's my list of 25 different numbers ordered from the least to greatest. Double check and make sure that your list matches my list. Now that I have my list, I'm going to find the minimum, maximum, median, first quartile, and third quartile. The minimum is the smallest number in the list, maximum is the largest, median is the middle, first quartile is the middle of the lower half, and third quartile is the middle of the upper half. So my minimum, my smallest number, is 250. My maximum or largest number is 730. And then I'm going to count into the middle to find the median. So counting from the bottom, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That middle number, 390 should be the middle. Let's count and make sure it's 13 down from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So my median is 390. Now I'm going to ignore the median, ignore the 390, and figure out what is the bottom number if I am only looking at the lower half. So the lower half is going to be the numbers that I'm underlining in pink. What is the middle from that group of numbers? Well, there's 12 numbers here, so if we go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that would be the middle. Let's count from the other direction and make sure that works. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, I got a different number as the middle. But when you have 12 numbers, that's an even number. You can't have something in the middle because we're going to have 6 on one side and 6 on the other. So in order to find the first quartile, I have to take the average or find the mean of the two numbers right there. So 320 plus 330 divided by 2 gives me 650 divided by 2, which is 325. I followed the same process right here to find the third quartile. So I looked at the upper half, which is in this kind of bluish green color. And then I found 520 and 520 were the middle two numbers. Well, if you take the average of the same number, it's just going to equal that same number. Now that I've found the minimum, maximum, median, first quartile, and third quartile, I can move on and start creating my graph. So I'm going to do that by drawing a number line with the range of values. My range goes from 250 to 730. So let's draw a number line. And I'm going to start at 250 and count up my number line by 50s. So I've got 250, 300, 350, 400, and we're going to keep going all the way up until we get to 750. That is wide enough. It's a little wider than my range, but it's wide enough that I'm going to be able to fit everything on this number line. Now that I have my number line, I'm going to draw a box plot with the first quartile to the third quartile. So I abbreviated a little bit here. It said draw a box from first Q or first quartile to third Q or third quartile. Well, my first quartile is 325, and my third is 520. So I'm going to go to about 325 and up to 520, which isn't quite halfway, between 500 and 550, and draw a box. That box is going from the first quartile at 325 to the third quartile at 520. Now I'm going to draw a line at the median. Remember, the median is the middle number in a set of data, and the middle number in this set is 390. So the median isn't exactly, it's not necessarily in the middle of the box, but it's the middle number, or even in the middle of the number line. The median is the middle number in the list of numbers that we wrote down. So I have my first quartile, my median, my third quartile. Now it's time to include the minimum and maximum. My sixth step is to plot. We're going to change that. The sixth step is to draw a line from the box to the minimum and the maximum. So I'm going to draw one line from the box down to 250 and the other line from the box up to 730. So I start at the box and go down to 250. And then start at the box and go up to 730, which isn't quite to the top of my number line. So now I have my minimum, first quartile, median, third quartile, and maximum. Because this side is shorter, these sections right here are a little shorter than these sections, I know that the data is more crunched together. So there are more phones that have a battery life within this range than there are phones with a battery life in this range. We will go more into reading box plots and dot plots and histograms in our next lesson.